Welcome. We know you might be joining us today while navigating something truly, truly devastating.
Yeah, a husband's infidelity,
Yeah,
and with your own sister. It's hard to imagine a deeper betrayal.
it really is a shattering of trust from, well, the two people who should have been your closest allies.
So in this deep dive, we're focusing very specifically on extracting the absolute core insights from a psychological guide we've looked at. It's designed for exactly this heart-wrenching situation.
Think of our conversation as maybe a shortcut, helping you grasp the essential steps towards healing, towards rebuilding, based on this guide.
Definitely. Because, and this is crucial, even though it feels impossible right now, the guide itself opens with this vital message: healing, rebuilding.
Yeah.
It is possible.
It is, and that's what we want to explore, the practical steps, the emotional journey, everything this guide lays out to help you see a path forward.
Okay, so let's start with the immediate aftermath. The guide uses a really powerful phrase, an emotional tsunami.
A tsunami, yeah. And it details what that feels like, right? That initial wave, just sheer shock.
Utter shock. Denial, maybe. Trying to push the reality away.
And then intense rage, justifiable rage.
Of course. Deep grief, too.
Yeah.
The humiliation, which is, ugh, so painful.
And sometimes, strangely, even guilt can creep in, can't it?
It can, absolutely. But the key thing the guide stresses here is that all of this, it's entirely normal.
Right. It's not you losing control.
Not at all. It's a completely understandable reaction when your entire foundation of trust just crumbles. Allowing yourself to feel those emotions without judging them. That's step one.
It must be almost a relief to hear that validated, that these huge, overwhelming feelings are, in fact, a natural response.
Yeah.
And I was struck by the guide's reassurance, too. It says, essentially, you might feel completely alone, but many others have navigated this painful journey and emerged stronger.
That little bit of hope, so important.
So important. Okay, so you're in this emotional storm. Where does the guide suggest you even begin to take practical steps?
Wisely, it prioritizes the practical stuff first. Safety, stability, before you even announce you're leaving.
Ah, okay.
Laying the groundwork.
Exactly. It's about creating a secure base for yourself when, everything else feels like it's falling apart.
So concrete actions. What does it suggest?
First off, securing a safe place to stay. That's paramount.
Not just a roof, but like a sanctuary.
Precisely. Somewhere you can breathe and start to process. Then, setting up a personal bank account.
Financial independence. Crucial.
Absolutely. And then there's gathering important documents. The guide specifically mentions things like birth certificates, passports, any savings info.
Why gather those now? It seems like maybe jumping ahead, but...
Well, the rationale is having these things proactively gives you security and autonomy.
Right, so you're not dependent or stuck if things get difficult later.
Exactly. When emotions are sky high, having these essentials means you have the tools you need. It prevents being controlled, in a way.
That makes a lot of sense.
And understanding your legal rights is part of this too. Not necessarily rushing to lawyers, but just being informed, empowered. Okay, now this specific situation, the betrayal involving a sister, that must create such a profound sense of isolation. Like, who do you even turn to?
Oh, absolutely. The guide calls it overwhelming isolation. It's a huge focus.
So how does it suggest you combat that?
It really pushes for building a support system, but a carefully chosen one.
Okay, not just anyone.
Right. Trustworthy friends. People who can offer real support, no judgment. And it specifically recommends finding a therapist, ideally one who specializes in relationship trauma.
That professional guidance seems invaluable here.
It really can be. The guide also mentions support groups, both, online and in person.
Ah, connecting with others who've maybe been through something similar, that shared understanding.
Can be incredibly powerful, yes. And again, considering legal counsel comes up for clarity on rights and options.
It sounds like building a team around you.
Kind of, yeah. And the guide directly addresses the shame that often comes with this kind of betrayal. It says reaching out, finding support, that actually shows tremendous strength.
That's a powerful reframe. It's not weakness to need help.
Not at all. It's a reminder you don't have to face this alone. You shouldn't.
Okay, so you've started building that safety net, gathering support. Then comes the moment. Communicating the decision to leave. That sounds incredibly difficult.
It is, and the guide offers very practical advice here, really focused on protecting your own emotional well-being during that conversation.
Like what?
Choosing a time and place where you feel as safe, as calm as possible.
Setting the stage carefully.
Yes, and then presenting your decision clearly, directly.
Yeah.
And importantly, trying to keep that initial conversation Well, relatively brief, focused just on the decision itself.
Brief, but wouldn't you want to explain everything, make them understand the hurt?
You might want to, and those feelings are valid, but the guide suggests getting pulled into a long, drawn-out debate or rehashing everything right then. It can be incredibly draining.
It may be counterproductive.
Potentially, yes. It also prepares you for different reactions you might get.
Like denial, anger.
Exactly. Denial, anger, maybe pleading, manipulation, even blame shifting, trying to turn it around on you.
Being ready for that must help.
It can help you stay grounded in your decision. And crucially, the guide emphasizes, protect your dignity, your well-being. You don't owe them massive explanations in that moment.
That feels like permission to prioritize yourself, which is needed.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Now, let's talk about what the guide calls perhaps the most complex aspect.
The sister.
The sister, yeah. That layer of betrayal is just uniquely painful.
How do you even start to navigate that? It feels like there's no map.
There really isn't an easy answer, and the guide acknowledges that. It suggests a few possible approaches, depending on you.
Okay.
One strong suggestion is considering a period of temporary no contact, a complete break.
Just space.
Yes, to create emotional distance, purely for your own healing. It's not about punishing her, it's about self-preservation.
That makes sense. Creating breathing room. What else?
If face-to-face feels impossible or unsafe, maybe expressing feelings through writing.
A letter.
Could be. A way to get your pain across, set boundaries, but without that immediate emotional intensity of talking.
Right. Less confrontational, maybe.
Potentially. And then much further down the line, it mentions family therapy as a possibility, but only if and when you feel ready.
And even then, it's not guaranteed.
Not at all. The guide stresses your well-being is always the priority. The main message seems to be, go your own pace, prioritize your emotional health above everything else in that relationship.
So, no pressure to reconcile, engage, forgive, unless you feel it's right for you. Maybe never.
Precisely. Your emotional health is the compass here.
Okay, so ending a marriage, especially like this, there's bound to be intense grief, right? Even if leaving is the right thing.
Absolutely. The guide makes a big point of this. Acknowledging the grief, allowing it. It's essential for healing.
Not trying to suppress it or pretend you're okay.
No, feeling it all, the sadness, the anger, confusion, the loss of the future you thought you had. Feeling it without judgment.
And resisting pressure to just get over it.
Exactly. Grief doesn't work on a schedule. The guide uses this image of grief being like waves.
Sometimes overwhelming, sometimes gentler.
Yes, and the reassurance is that over time, you learn to navigate those waves. You build the strength.
That's a much more compassionate way to look at it.
It is. And while you're navigating that grief, the focus shifts to the active work of rebuilding.
Rebuilding trust?
Trust in others, eventually maybe, but crucially, trust in yourself and rebuilding your self-esteem, which is likely taking a massive hit.
How does the guide suggest doing that? It sounds like a huge task.
It frames it as consistent work, small steps, consistently taken. Practical self-care is big.
Like the basics: sleep, food, movement.
Yes, those actions that nurture you physically and mentally, but also consciously acknowledging your own strength, celebrating the small wins, the moments you get through.
Noticing your resilience.
Exactly. And establishing healthy boundaries becomes critical, especially in any new relationships, protecting yourself going forward.
Makes sense. Any specific tools mentioned?
The guide suggests cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, could be helpful. It focuses on changing those negative thought patterns that often follow trauma.
Retraining your brain, almost.
In a way, yes.
Yeah.
Processing the trauma, and it specifically highlights journaling.
Writing things down, how does that help?
It can be a powerful way to track your progress, untangle feelings, see how far you've come, even document those small daily victories. You actually see the progress on paper.
Okay, so healing the wounds is one part, but the guide also talks about looking forward, right? Building a new life.
Yes, absolutely. It's not just about recovery, it's about construction.
What does that look like?
It encourages exploring new interests, or maybe reconnecting with old passions you let slide.
Things just for you.
Exactly. Expanding your social circle, finding new connections, deepening supportive friendships you already have, setting goals too.
Big life goals.
Doesn't have to be huge, short-term, long-term. Even small, achievable steps that give you a sense of purpose, of moving forward.
And I remember the guide talking about redefining happiness and success.
Yes, redefining it on your terms now, independent of that past life, that past relationship.
And there was that really powerful image it used.
The Renaissance in self-recreation.
Yeah.
Pursuing dreams that maybe were discouraged before. Seeing that as this powerful symbol of starting over, creating something new and authentic for yourself.
Like turning this incredibly painful ending into a catalyst.
That's the idea, a catalyst for a life that truly fits who you are now.
Looking back over this whole process, this painful journey, does the guide identify any key life lessons that often emerge?
It does distill a few profound insights, yeah. Things people often realize afterwards.
Gotcha.
Firstly, discovering an inner strength you never knew you had. Just surviving this proves it.
You find reserves you didn't know were there.
Definitely.
Sure.
Secondly, learning the crucial importance of healthy boundaries. That you deserve them and can enforce them.
Protecting yourself going forward.
Yes. Thirdly, this really empowering idea. You can't control what others do, but you always control your response. Your choices are yours.
That sense of agency.
Huge. And finally, it just underscores human resilience. Our incredible capacity not just to endure pain, but to heal, learn, and actually grow from it.
It's quite remarkable when you think about it.
It really is. So the guide loops back to that initial decision, leaving.
Acknowledging how agonizing it is.
Agonizing, yes, but ultimately necessary. An act of self-preservation, really, for your mental health, your dignity.
It doesn't sugarcoat the difficulty?
No, it's realistic. It admits there are no shortcuts to healing from wounds this deep, but it holds on to the hope.
That with support, with determination, a new life is possible.
A meaningful, fulfilling new life is absolutely possible. And those final words in the guide, they really hit home, don't they?
They do. Their betrayal reflects their character, not your worth.
So important to internalize. You deserve love, respect, and loyalty.
And that hopeful closing thought. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most beautiful beginnings.
It's a powerful message. Ultimately, this deep dive shows that healing is achievable.
Yeah.
And the strength you need, it's already within you.
It truly is. And maybe here's a final thought for you, the listener, to carry with you. Take some time to really reflect on what redefining happiness and success means for you personally, right now, free from past expectations. And ask yourself, what previously discouraged dreams maybe pushed aside, might you now feel empowered to explore? What might your beautiful beginning look like?